Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Figs Outside. So today we're going to be replacing the fan belt and the water pump system on my boy's 2005 GMC Yukon 5.3 liter Vortec V8. Yeah, it started pouring coolant. I think it's out of the weep hole. I don't know if these have a weep hole in them or not. But anyway, it's coming out from behind the water pump pulley, so we know it's bad. But anyway, I already kind of started it. And then I was like, oh shoot, should be making a video of this. We have the new water pump here. We got this one at our local auto parts store. You can also buy them off of Amazon. There's the gaskets. You need a little bit of RTV silicone, or get a silicone gasket maker. It kind of sort of gives you instructions on how to get everything set up properly for your belt. I don't really need to worry about that. But anyway, so this new piece, the water pump's in there. That is going to be for your thermostat, and those are for your heater hoses. Oh, dropping stuff here. So anyway, you're going to disconnect it off of your airbox. This is your mass airflow sensor right here, throttle body, and this is for your hose. This hose clamped onto it like so. It has a pinch clamp. Just use a good set of pliers. And then it's got that little tab there that holds it on to that air piece. I'm brain farting on the word. Be sure you disconnect your hose, this little hose, from it. And this thing is already drained of coolant because it absolutely blew out the weep hole and it was pouring coolant. So anyway, you could also use the video to change out the belt if you want. Pretty simple, pretty easy. They have the belt diagram right here for your belt routing. That's for your AC condenser, obviously, it says right there. Or you could also just draw it out or take a picture, depending if you know this isn't wore out or missing or whatever. But anyway, so this is your belt tensioner for this upper belt. And so you can see right there, it is a 15 millimeter. Focus, there it is, 15 millimeter. So you're going to take this, and some people don't take that piece off, the air piece off, to change out the belt. I do. It just gives you a heck of a lot more room, and it's a lot easier to see. Anyway, it doesn't take a lot of tension, so you're just going to take that. You could use a breaker bar, or anyway, so you're just going to press that down, and as you can see, it's going to relieve the tension off that belt, so you could slip that belt off. And like I said, that is a 15 millimeter. There's the hoses. We're going to break these loose from this piece right here. Don't get these mixed up. So you want to keep that same hose setup. Man, I'm having a tough time this morning. So anyway, that's it right there. We're going to pop those loose, take those off, and then you're going to want to remove this because that will go on the new water pump system. And then it's about unbolting it. There's several bolts, as you can see, that are going to hold it to the block, to the face of the block. It's going to be down here. You're going to have a couple down here. I will post the sizes. They kind of look like they're actually 10 mils. I will double check. I know people are going to say, you know, it's a GMC, it's an American rig, it takes standard. Well, when you put a standard on this one, it is actually super sloppy loose. And as you can see with this 15 mil, it fits very tight. It's nice and snug. There's not a lot of slop, but when you use the standard, there's a ton of slop on there. So here we go with a 15 mil again. So we're gonna take that tensioner pulley system off. Losing all sorts of stuff here. So you can see that 15 mil, there's not much wobble at all. Here's the standard 5/8. So you tell me which one you should use. Also, these little ones, the main bolts holding the pump assembly on to the block, 10 mil. There it is there. Hardly any rock to it. So that's what I'm talking about, because I've had a lot of people critique me. Oh, it's an American vehicle. You need to use standard sockets and wrenches on it. Well, I mean, that just goes to show you right there. It doesn't matter if it's an American vehicle or not anymore. So, little quick tip. There it is. Use what fits right. So you can see we're getting most of the bolts out. Got the pulley off. And this is your thermostat right there. So you want to double check this thing. If I remember right, looking at the paperwork, it wasn't replaced it wasn't replaced very long ago. So you want to be sure there's no corrosion, anything like that, that the spring moves freely. The spring looks to be in really good condition. There's the gasket. So you can see that there. So yeah, you just want to double check that. It's a little update. So here is a real quick tip, y'all. So we're getting the parts pulled. You can either draw it on cardboard, the diagram of the bolt pattern, but the easiest way to do it is to have your part like so, and be sure you don't set it on your battery. That's very important. But anyway, so what I like to do is I'll take the bolts from where I pulled them out of, and I will put them back into the new piece, as you can see right here, because some of them are different lengths. And sometimes they're not, but it's better to be safe than sorry. So we're gonna get those cleaned up. There's for the thermostat. Here's where the tensioner pulley goes. And I actually have the bolts in the tensioner pulley itself. You can see that they're threaded. They're a little bit bigger because they're 15 mil. These are just little 10s. But yeah, see, there we go.
Cool.
So pulling that one out from underneath there, and it is gonna go there. Anyway, just a little tip, help you out. And some of y'all are wondering what this piece is for. That's actually for a fixed fan. That's going to be for a metal fan blade that goes on there. Oh, there's the last bolt getting ready to pull it apart. Anyway, so we're going to get that off, and then yeah, we'll show you the next step. Okay, so there it is. There's how the new gaskets are going to be laid out per the instructions. It says to use a thin coat of gasket sealer. On a very thin coat on each side. So, and what's really nice is these are actually metal gaskets, and they have a small little rubber rings on them for around the ports. So you can see that there. All right, guys, so you can see right there, it's a very, very thin coat of that sealant. You're like, yeah, I don't know why they want it on there, maybe just to help it stick to the block and to help with the imperfections on there, since it's got those rubber rings on there. Yeah, I don't know, but I do know you don't want it on those O-rings. I wiped most of it off, almost all of it off on those rings. These ones right here by my finger, as you can see right there, that are around the ports, because you don't want that stuff squishing into your ports. You don't want that silicone going around in there, because if it breaks off, you could booger up the impeller. It's going to plug little ports in your radiator and the heater core. You don't want that stuff in there. So I think it's just to help with the minor imperfections that are in the block and in the piece of machine metal. So there shouldn't be any in there, but and it's also going to help it stick to the block. And if you put it on this first, it's going to help it stick to that. Without it slipping and sliding, because then it's a pain in the butt and you got to try to get it to line up with all your bolts. But anyway, I just wanted to show you guys that. Super thin, both sides. Anyway, so we're getting ready to set the water pump assembly back on here. We cleaned around the ports with a little brake clean, and you kind of want to wipe around them so you don't get grime in there. And yeah, so that's what we did. So we're going to set it back on there, and then I'm going to coat this other gasket with a really super thin layer of that silicone just around the outer edges. Like I said, it's going to be just paper thin. Probably don't even need to, but it's what it says to do. So we've already got those metal ones coated, but yep, we're going to get it on there, and then we'll get back to you here in a little bit. All right, also we're getting it set in there with those 10mm bolts. Oop, this keeps falling in the way. So once you get them all tightened up. You just want to get them somewhat snug. And then, sorry guys. So for these bolts, they're going to be like, what is going to be like 11 foot-pounds all the way around, which is 132 inch-pounds if you have a inch-pound torque wrench. And then for the second round, you're going to want to go through and retorque them all. Goofy dogs are running around. But anyway, the second round is going to be your 22 foot-pounds. So it's not very tight because you don't want to crack that housing. So 22 foot-pounds is like 264 inch-pounds if you have a inch-pound torque wrench, or you can just snug them up and kind of feel the tension. And but yeah, they're not very tight. And so then the tensioner pulley is going to be at 37 foot-pounds. Kind of hard to look through the camera and do it all at the same time. But anyway, so yep, tensioner pulley, 37 foot-pounds. Those bolts, 10 millimeters that hold it to the block. It's going to be 11 foot-pounds and then 22 foot-pounds, or 132 inch-pounds to 264 inch-pounds for the second round. Okay, here's the gasket for the thermostat. For the instructions, it says use a very thin coat of the gasket sealer. I don't know, as you can see there, a little bit thick right there. I'm going to wipe that down, but as you can see on this part, I mean, it is super thin. Same thing, you don't want that sealer getting into that hose, that coolant, that thermostat. You don't want that stuff getting in there. Okay guys, so got the brand new belt put on because the other belt was cracked, so you always want to check your belt. That's another thing. So we got the new belt. It's routed on there just like in the diagram that I showed in the beginning of the video. There's actually two belt sizes for this one for the amperage of the alternators, and so you can actually find that right back here, excuse me, right there. There we go. So this one's 160 amp. I don't remember what the other one was, so you need that to get the proper belt length, because there is about 1.25 inches difference in the belt lengths. So got that on, and next we're going to be installing the air piece. So now's the fun part. You got to slowly fill up the reservoir. You don't want to fill it up too much, otherwise it comes out the bypass, the overflow, which bleeds out by the fender well. So you're going to want to fill it up. It'll start burping. You'll hear it bubbling. And then what you're going to want to do is you'll fill it, wait till it stops bubbling, put a little bit more in, and then you're going to squeeze the hoses and see, like you can hear it. Hear the air and the bubbles. So we got to add a little bit more, and you're going to do that. So far we're at just over 2.5 gallons, and you're going to do that until you stop hearing the bubbles and the burping. So right, so we got most of the bubbles out. We're going to start it, let it run for a minute until it gets up to temp. So that thermostat opens and closes, going to have him turn on his heater. So anyway, we get the coolant back into the heater core, and yeah, and we're just going to want to keep an eye on the level. You see the full mark down there, so that's what we're going to do. All right, so she's been running for a couple minutes now. So some things just a really quick double check. Since we did pull it apart, you want to turn your heater on, because that's going to pull the coolant back up into the heater core like I told you guys earlier. And also, since we replaced the belt, or you're putting the belt back on, you want to be sure that everything is tracking normal. Your belt is sitting in the pulleys the way it's supposed to be. It's not jumped a notch or a tooth over either direction. And since you're also going over the pump, you want to be sure it's tracking true on the pump itself, and it's not doing the whole snake thing where it's going in and out, it's wobbling. That's a big no-no. Then you want to recheck your belt and use the tensioner, set it up square. Same thing on this pulley up here. Everything's looking good. So like I said, the coolant was sitting up in here. He turned on the heater and it dropped it down below the line, actually down there. There's your low and your high, or your full. So I added just a little bit more. We're gonna let it run for a little while longer, get it back up to temp, and we'll double check it again. All right, guys, so that was it. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for watching this video. If you like this video, it helps you out, hit that thumbs up button and subscribe if you haven't already. And yeah, just appreciate it. Appreciate you guys watching and appreciate your time.